Hi, everybody. Welcome to Power of Knowing Forum's Nexus, Knowledge Nexus, tech that moves you, ideas that scale you. And today's topic is Agentic AI demands cloud native. Are you architecture ready? That's the topic that we are discussing today. A special welcome to all tuned to Power of Knowing Forum's weekly podcast series, episode 285, live on LinkedIn and other social media platforms today. Now let's talk about why cloud native for agentic AI and what is that we are talking about. What the if we run agentic AI on yesterday's stack? That's what we are talking about. The take that we want to take is AI doesn't run into straight lines. It branches out, retrieves, calls multiple tools and reacts live, event skipping concurrency and latency while multiplying failure modes. Cloud native gives me an elastic scale, containers, functions, declarative infra, that is infrastructure as a code, and progressive delivery so agents evolve without outages. Microservices expose small, permissible capabilities and event of backbone decoupling steps so one failure doesn't topple the whole flow. SLOs and tracking turn autonomy into governed actions. On a monolithic, you can choke on deployment, state, and blast radius. If you want agents to act responsibly in the real world, the architecture must be built for change. Example. Now let's take a e-commerce returns bot peak 95% cut from 8 to 10 minutes to 1.4 minutes. MTTR 90 to 15 minutes after containerizing and event bus. What are we talking about? We're talking about cloud native turns AI into shapeable outcomes. That's what we want to look at when we talk about what cloud native AI agents look for. Now, coming to the second point that we want to look at, what is the near term payoff can leaders defend to board? Now, the point that we want to drive here is time to first value in weeks, not in months. Stand up to paved road platforms, Kubernetes for durable tools, serverless for glue, an event of bus for orchestration, and a vector DB for memory, and a model gateway to swap providers, then ship one end to end agentic workflow, maybe triangle, enriched code. Payoff shorter life cycles, higher development throughput, reusable patterns for the next three use cases, and governance story flags audits. I report detail, not objectives. Now, looking at what we are talking about is we're talking about 8 weeks visible AI business value that we can bring. Now, taking to the next point, refractor legacy without a big bang. What does that mean? How do we modernize with safety is what we should look at. Now, Fig crave one painful workflow front in with API gateway, emit reliable dominant events outbox, and containerization, the new slice. Agents call clean, versionized APIs, subscribe to events, the monolithic servers to rest over sprints, migrate adjustable capabilities, and retrieve old endpoints quietly. Contracts plus indeploymency keeps retired safe. Example, loan verification income slices escalation down by 40%, safe retrieves via diplomacy keys. Yeah, okay. Now, coming to the next point that we want to look at, state of memory context right placement. Where do facts versus working memory live, right? Facts live in your lake or lake house under governance and lingering lineage. Working memory goes into vector of the DB with per task session TTL hot. Hot text consists sits in cache. Stable preferences live in the user profiles with consent. I log prompt tools IO and decisions with correlation from IDs from replay to audits. This keeps latency low, privacy intact, and accountability high. What do we talk about? Support agentic memory move to vector DB 24 hours TTL. Okay, 1.8 milliseconds to zero point 0.9 milliseconds auditable, right? And lake of facts, vector for memory, cache for context, and log for IDs. Separate facts from memory for speed is what we want to talk about when we talk about where the facts versus working memory live. Coming to the next point, pick up runtime on one line high. Runtime Kubernetes, serverless or hybrid. That's the point that we want to look at. 3 R's: rate, traffic, runtime, duration, risk, blast radius, and compliance. Serverless for busting glue, Kubernetes for running stateful tools, batch jobs as hybrid typically wins. Cost down, SLAs up, fewer 3 a.m. pages, right? And we talk about summarizing the whole structure of PDF summarizing, Kubernetes workbooks, and on functions, infra cost by 23% down at SLA still kept at 99%. That's what we want to look at. Now, coming to the next point, safe boundaries and autonomous tools. Autonomy without chaos. What's the pattern? Tools are products. Publish open APIs, enforce least privilege scope, validate inputs, make operations independent, wrap risk actions, payments, PII exports, or OPI policies, post conditions return structured errors so that agents can rely, fallback, or escalate to humans cleanly. Example, run fund tool with in diplomacy plus OPM, duplicate refunds near zero in 2 weeks. What are we talking about? Notes, current contract scopes, validations, and OPA. Guardrails from autonomy is what we want to look at. Coming to the next point, why is multi-agent orchestration pattern? Avoid request scapegoat. What is the reference that we are talking about? We are talking about event-driven stacks, orchestration published commands. Handles are independent, retires bounded, failures land DLQ with alerts, correlation of IDs, replay and Y analysis. Order to cache saga is throughput plus 30% payment on API outage, isolation by retires plus DLQ. What is that we are talking about? Orchestrate events with and not with skip. Sorry about it. Version versus release agents model safely. What is that we are talking about? Experiment fast, keep prod boring. That's what we are talking about. And what we are talking about is versionizing agents, prompt tools, modern models, data sheets, blue green first, then canary 1 to 5% gated by SLA. Safety checks, future flags control, capable rollouts, auto rollback, and guardrail breaches. Keep the promotion journal who, what, when, and why. What is being done is what we are talking about in terms of talking about versioning every canary flag auto rollbacks is what we are talking about. If there is a failure, and how do we look at rollback as a policy is what we are talking about. Now coming to the next point that we want to look at, observability and tracing across chains. What must we see to fix fast? Instrument every hop with open telemetry propagated in a single correlation ID from request to model to tools. Capture spans, sanitize prompts, tools, IOs, latency, tokens, and cost. Guardrail verdicts, dashboards as per the case, alerts, error budget, and anomaly behaviors. Trace double as training data to improve prompts and tools. What is that we are talking about? Lead enrichment MTTR by 70 to 18 minutes after traces plus cost dashboards. Come to next point, we are talking about the PII and data governance for agent actions. Prevent leakage without killing velocity. Classify on ingress, tokenization, mask, policy enforcement, column row security, and purpose based access. Maintain lineage where who can access what, when, and why. Validate outputs for leakage before egress. Do done right. Legal and security shift from no to yes with the conditions applied. We are talking about PAN masking pipeline caught 100% test leaks, legal approvals faster with evidence, and what is that we talk about? Mask first, then let the agents play. That's what we are talking about when we talk about PII. Coming to the next pointer that we would like to add is that what is that we are talking about in terms of security? Secure the chain, not just the model, right? The chain supply first signed images, S bombs, reproducible builds, runtime MLTLS, network policies, pod security, secrets in terms of KMS and SMs, IAM least privilege per tool, allow list prompt response, filtering, continuous posture and attack path monitoring to catch drift early. Example is signed image policy blocked with typo squatted container with zero prod impact. SLS, SM bombs, MTLS, least privileges monitoring. Secure the chain, not the model, is what we want to talk about on the security contracts at end-to-end controls. Now, star cost controls as agents fan out. Stop surprise bills. Treat cost as a product metric. Set up agent budgets. What we are talking about here is we're talking about budgets that are to be fixed in terms of every deployment that we are going to do as a deployment for this system. I think there is a question saying that there is no audio. Let me check. Coming to the next point that we wanted to look at, treat cost as a metric, as I said, set per agent budgets and quotas, cache intermediate results, pick up small and viable models, and batch where possible. Right size of containers, use pot permittable where safe track costs per successful task, kill unprofitable prompts, tools, visibility changes behavior. That's what we want to look at. And what we are talking about, budget agents like product features. Every cost has to be looked at, every pointer that has to be dwelled with the agents has to be looked at. And looking at that pointer, you want to see how we can control costs. Minimal agent platform in 90 days. What is the smallest backbone actually works? API gateways, Kubernetes, event buses, vector DB, model gateways, feature flags, observative OPS, FinOps, tagging gold paths, onboard end-to-end use case HTML and guardrails publish the runbook by 90. Others can onboard in hours safely. That's what we're talking. A working platform in 90 days with every step taken into consideration. Now, which earns the next check? Pick up the first board worthy use case. High volume, low risk, measurable, score with a rise V, reach, impact, confidence, effort, and value. Prototype fast, attach and KPI like minutes to save per case, SLA attainment, and conversation lift. Present a pilot scale in ladder with exit criteria and boards fund momentum. Now, what is that we choose here? Choose to win, and you can measure. What we're talking about is everything that can be done and measured is what we are talking about today in the pointers. Thank you for being part of the podcast today. These were the few pointers which Ashraf wanted us to deliver today based on the topics that we had for the topic. Due to personal emergency, Ashraf is not able to join the podcast today. He's given these notes for me to read out to you on the questions that we wanted to talk about, and that's what we have discussed in the last 15 minutes. I've read out the pointers that Ashraf had given for each of the questions that we wanted to have in this podcast. Thank you for joining us. Sorry for not having the speaker because of a personal emergency that has come around him and he is not joined us today. Thank you for joining.